YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, however, wherever you listen to the show, Last Word Productions. I'm your host, Tavares Wilson. As we all know now, I always get the last word here with my main man once again for another review show recap of a very disappointing and just downright, to be honest, pathetic performance by the Miami Dolphins. Larry, what's up, my boy?
Yo, it's good, man.
Yeah, so let's just get straight to it. It wasn't pretty in any facets of the game. We talked about it yesterday. The defense didn't play particularly fantastic either, but they gave you a chance to win. They played well enough to win, in my personal opinion. And the offense just, at this point, it's just been a fucking joke. Like let's just call it what it is. It's been terrible. But so before we get into the numbers, before we get into the stats and the nuances of the game itself, what are some of the thoughts you're having about this team now?
Um, it's very apparent and very urgent that the quarterback play determines the direction of the offense of the team. We're not one of those teams who could just plug in anybody and expect W's. We are a very specific coordinated teams that needs and requires everything to go right, and that's not particularly a successful NFL squad, in my opinion. Excuse me. The defense, where somewhere I don't want to say disagree, but I feel like the defense played about as good as you can get for an offense that only produces 3 points. You know,
Mm.
from the constant pressure to Geno Smith, the sacks, the third down stops, the eventual interception by Zach Sealer. Like, there were a plethora of opportunities for this team to go down and at least get, from the very least, 20 points. And due to bad play calls, bad execution, and just bad situations that the offense put itself in, you see that there's an obvious side of the ball that's severely lacking. And when you got superstars and megastars at the offensive side, and Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Devon Achane, when you got guys like that and they can't go out there and produce, is either something going on with a specific, with the quarterback play, with the play calling, the coaching, or it's just these guys aren't what you call, how can I say, the type of guys that go out there and get you a win versus they need everything to be right in order for them to win. So that's what this game in Seattle showed me, because I seriously feel like Seattle gave us that football game.
Right. And I completely agree in terms of Seattle pretty much trying to hand over the game. Like
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't have made it any more winnable than what they made. I mean, the game easily could have been 45-3, easily. And for whatever reason, Seattle came in that day just as undisciplined as us, which I'll get into later, just as anemic on offense in the second half as we were the entire game. And for whatever reason, the Miami Dolphins team just could not put together quite literally anything on the offensive side of the ball. It was absolutely pathetic, like atrocious. It was the worst offensive performance we've seen out of this team since we could go back far to the Cameron days in 2009. We went 1-15. It was that bad because
Mm-hmm.
I listen, for you to get the ball on the 5-yard line and net 1 yard and not even get a touchdown. I mean, that is inexcusable. Like you can't make this shit up. Like that sounds like a 2 year old playing Madden. Like what? I don't understand what we're doing at this point, man. And let's just get into the nuances of this game real fast because there's a lot more I want to say. But let's get into the game real fast. So for those who don't know by now, the final score of the Seahawks and Dolphins game was 24-3. Skylar Thompson was not good. I mean, what's to expect? It was Skylar Thompson. He went 13 for 19, 107 yards. He was sacked 5 times. Tevin Boyd came in 7 for 13, 79 yards. He was sacked once. You got nothing out of the rushing the game this game. Devon Achane, 11 rushes, 30 carries. Jalen Wright looked good in his 2 brief stunts, but for whatever reason, he didn't get the ball no more the rest of the way. We're going to talk about that. Jeff Wilson, 3 for 14. So he averaged almost 5 yards a carry. I guess that's cool, but he's, again, 3 touches. They're receiving, absolute joke. Absolute joke, man. Tyreek Hill, 3 catches, 40 yards on 5 targets. D. Eskridge, 1 catch, 30 yards. Jalen Waddle, 4 catches, 26 yards. Devon Achane, 3 catches, 28 yards. Julian Hill, 2 catches, 24 yards. You literally don't have a single receiver in this game where you came in, all their starting linebackers are hurt outside of one guy. They lost Leonard Williams in this game. They lost another lineman in this game, Brown. I forgot his first name. And the offense could muster absolutely nothing. They could give you nothing. And it was just absolutely pathetic, man. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. And then we look on the Seahawks side of the ball. Geno Smith, 26 for 34, 289. He had a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Zach Charbonnet, excuse me, 18 rushes, 91 yards, a little over 5 yards a carry, and he had 2 touchdowns. It don't seem like who the hell lines up against us is a running back gonna have a pretty damn good game. It just don't matter. DK Metcalf, 4 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. The touchdown came off a 70-yard bomb where he just torched Javon Holland. Noah Fent, 6 catches, 60 yards. Tyler Lockett, 5 catches, 46 yards. Jackson Smith and Najibba, 3 catches with 39 yards. So we see the basics and the groundwork of the game, but we actually watched the game. So just what did you take away from that game? Like, and what I mean by that, let me ask a more specific question. And I asked you this yesterday. After watching this, do you still have faith in the coaching staff, specifically Mike McDaniel, to right this ship? And I get it. I know it's 3 weeks in. There's a lot of football to be played. But do you still have faith in them?
I'm For how successful the offense has been in the past couple of years. I'm not the type to veer off from what we have going on offense, but like I just said, the coaching the past 3 weeks has been, like you've been saying, abysmal, and it's been downright ridiculous to say the least. Even with the game we did against Jacksonville, the first half the offense was completely dead. Hell, you can even go as far as saying in the second half, the offense was dead. They just had that Tyreek big play and Holland saved the day with the stripper on Travis Etienne.
Right.
Which is just turned into the Tyreek Hill play. But this, excuse me, I'm sorry. This is it just goes to show, man, that if everything is not clicking to on high cylinder, that this offense becomes pretty stagnant, man. Yeah, it's becoming an issue once you see that you lose your quarterback again. That's where it really falls. That's where the season falls short of. Not only when you lose your quarterback, but when people line up and see that this team can only do so much if their quarterback is in. If we get rid of the quarterback, we got nothing to worry about for the rest of the year. And that's a huge problem to have, man. You don't want to be that kind of team labeled as a soft franchise who depends on their starting quarterback to make plays, who puts them in the best positions. Because if I come out there as a defense and I see that, man, I got this offense weak, man. They can't do nothing unless they got everything together. If I throw them out of motion one time, that's it. We got them. That's a terrible mentality for a defense to come in and just be confident against you. And just to speak back on Mike McDaniel, it was a bad, to say the least, man. It was a bad showcase offense, man. You have Jalen Wright, who I'm sorry, I don't remember his yards. Two carries for like 13 yards, for 15 yards, or something like that.
Yeah, 17.
17 yards. That's 8 yards a carry, and you run him twice. I could understand being a rookie, but come on, you literally have nothing else. What else did the offense show? You might as well keep running him. He finding the lanes a little easier than everybody else, especially if this game a blowout. You might as well throw him in the. You already got a quarterback who seems to not have figured it out in the NFL yet. He's 3 years in. Tim Boyle used to be in the Matt LaFleur scheme. He's not no rookie. This is his first legit game time action. But when you see that your quarterback isn't getting it done, you turn to the run game. It's starting to be very apparent that Mike McDaniel isn't the type of coach to just figure out that what I need to do is just hunker down, understand when something is just, when something is a wash, and just run this damn football, because it seems to be successful. When you got Jalen Wright averaging 8 yards a carry, you got Devon Achane finding a few cracks in the interior line, and Jeff Wilson is getting 5 yards a carry. Why are we still throwing the ball with two backup quarterbacks who's not getting it done, who's not reading the field? So it speaks volume for the head coach to not realize where he has an advantage. And it's starting to kind of become an issue, man, especially when you're already 1-2 in a fairly decent part of your schedule, where it really ramps up at the end of the year like it always does for Miami. And then we're fighting for a playoff chance to damn near missing the playoffs. Everyone's getting older on the team. Tyreek is about to enter that 31, 32-year-old range.
It's the oldest team in the league, bro. Everyone already.
So it's like, by the time you come next year, you're going to have a whole new offense, a whole new defense. Because Calais Campbell is not coming back. Emmanuel Ogbah isn't coming back. Zach Sealer is going to be 29. You got Jordan Brooks and Antoine Walker. Those guys are touching the 30 range. Ramsey's about to be 31, 32. Kendall Fuller is about to become 31, 32. Jordan Poyer is 36. We don't know if we re-signing him. Bro, this is not the time to be 1-2. And to come out there and coach like that, and you not to speak ill of the new DC, but you're running a zone that's getting destroyed over the middle and underneath. Change it up. You're only sending forward with no pressure. Change it up. There needs to be a break in this consistency type offense and defense that we're running, and it's not being done. And you're going to keep losing games like this. Arizona is getting hot. We played them in a couple of weeks. The Tennessee Titans legit could be from 0-3 to 3-0 just as easily with a couple of plays. We play the Monday Night Football. Something has to give and something has to change quickly because by the time you play Buffalo again and we 1-5, 1-6, 2-6, that the playoff dream looks shot. Now it looks like we just wasted money this entire season.
I mean, truth be told to you, it already looks that way to me. But let me preface this first, man. Let me say this first, because for whatever reason, more or less, people tend to believe I'm just always negative or I don't have anything good to say or whatever the case may be. I just want to say this: I take no joy in saying the things I say, man. I don't like. I don't. It doesn't make me happy. It doesn't bring cheers in my life. It doesn't gets me ecstatic or going whatever terminology you want to use. It does nothing for me. In fact, it does the quite opposite. It saddens me and it pisses me off, to be frank, that I have to watch this team each and every Sunday, Thursday, Monday, whichever day they play, just absolutely look abysmal, pathetic. And let me say this to answer my own question. I've lost all faith in Mike McDaniel. I'm not saying that anyone else has to lose faith in him. I'm not saying that people have to believe he needs to be fired. Now, I'm not saying any of those things. He gonna finish out the year at the very least. I believe that, him and Chris Greer. But if this goes left like how it's looking it's going to go, there's no reason at all for either one of those guys to come back. There's just no reason. This will be year 3 with uber amount of talent. I'm talking about oozing talent around this team, and you're telling me you get worse after 2 years you're supposed to build off of, after you brought in win now caliber players, quote unquote, to win this season? I get it. You drafted some young guys to replace some veterans next year. I get it. But you didn't go out and get Jordan Poyer for 2025. You didn't go out and get Jordan Brooks for 2025. You didn't go out and get Kendall Fuller for 2025. You went out and got these dudes to replace dudes you lost in the offseason, meaning you got them to get better this year, and you've gotten significantly worse. This team looks pathetic. And all the issues that Mike McDaniel came in year 1 with, they're still the same issues. Like whether it's bad play calling, piss poor time management, lack of discipline from his team, bailing on the run, even though it's working, it's all the same mistakes. Bro, the first 2 runs of the game, they got 28 yards. And for the next 3 plays, they throw the ball and get 3 straight incompletions and have to punt. What are we doing? Like, bro, it's football 101, bro. Look at what Malik Willis and Green Bay are doing right now. And I got to apologize to Matt LaFleur, man, because I thought he was an Aaron Rodgers merchant. I truly did. I thought Rodgers made that dude. He coaching his ass off right now. I got to give credit when it's due. And you look at Matt LaFleur, what he's doing, with Malik Willis, a guy who was literally viewed as a lost cause. You look at what Sean McVay just did with the Rams with 2 hurt tackles, both starting receivers out, and a defense that's pretty much Swiss cheese. Like I get it, Debo and them boys was out, but the Niners were clearly still a more better team or more talented team. And then you roll in on Sunday, Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins, and they look clueless. You try to run the same exact offense with Skylar Thompson that you ran with Tua, as if they're the same player. They don't have the same skill set. It's not rocket science, bro. Make adjustments to the people you have and the personnel you have now. He's calling the games as if his hubris and stubbornness is his own downfall. Like he's calling these games as if, regardless of who the fuck line up, it's gonna work. Because I'm a genius. I'm smarter than everybody else. That's literally how he seems to be approaching shit. And it's so mind-numbing because it's like you see this shit not work each and every year down the stretch. This year's just starting earlier than it usually do because teams haven't figured out. They know what to do now. They know what looks you're giving because nothing has changed. For 3 years, you've been running the same offense. They know what it is now. They're not gonna get burnt by the same thing each and every year, bro. This is this league, like how you said in one of the pods before. Teams adapt to what you do. They learn. They pick up on tendencies. They're not gonna keep making the same mistakes. Those guys get paid too. You're not just gonna walk in and think you're gonna run these bubble screens and deep posts all game and think it's gonna work. It's not gonna work. You got to do something else. And I'm just over it, man, because he doesn't have a fucking clue as far as I'm concerned. He don't. And I'm tired of hearing people tell me he's a football genius. He's not. He's not. A football genius wouldn't know to keep running the ball if it's working, especially when you got a second and third string quarterback in the game. Like it's not, bro. It's literally not rocket science, bro. It's not. If it's working, go with it. If it's not, switch it. And he's doing the opposite of both. And then listen, I said this once and I say it again. If Chris Greer has a job at the end of this season, I am convinced that he is blackmailing Stephen Ross in some way. I'm convinced. Because no one is going to sit here with a straight face and tell me that this dude is going to stay on this team because he's good at his job. Look at Larry. Let's not even go far. Let's look into the division. Look what the Bills have done this offseason compare it to what we've done this offseason. The Bills have drafted and gotten younger, talented players who replace older players for them, and they're just as good, if not better. They're 3-0 right now. And they're not even playing this. They're literally not even playing the same style of football. Versus the Dolphins, who got much older, lost key players, just like the Bills lost key players, but they didn't replace said key players. So now you're looking at it from the perspective of, yeah, we didn't need Robert Hunt, man. We could just start Liam Eichenberg, the guy who has proven to be terrible. We could just start him. He'll be all right. We could start Robert Jones. He'll be all right. We don't need to go get another guy. Let's re-sign Isaiah Wynn, even though he's shown us that he can't play a full season to save his life. Let's do those things. Let's bring back Teron Armstead. Let's just draft his replacement and develop him until next season. This year, the O-line just gonna be a wash. Like, forget it. It doesn't matter. Let's go out and get Aaron Brewer, the guy who the Titans literally let walk when you gave him a dirt cheap contract. Yeah, let's let that guy. Let's bring in that guy. He knows exactly what to do. Like, it's a joke, bro. It's a joke. Chris Greer should be fired. It's a fireable offense on all consideration and cases, man. The 2020 draft itself is a fireable offense. When you have 3 first-round draft picks, bro, and you miss on all 3, because make no mistake about it, like me and you said before, Tua, they have no choice but to move on from Tua at this point. Whether it's next season or the season after, he's not going to stay in this team for the long term. He's not. And if he were to, that just proves even more why this team is incompetent and why the owner and GM has some kind of weird relationship going on. Something else is happening. Because at this point, I don't understand how Chris Greer could keep a job if this season just goes into, in the smoke, which is looking like it will. Tua, miss. It is what it is. I know a lot of people not gonna like that, but he a miss. Austin Jackson, what are we talking about? A miss. You literally had to change this dude positions to even make him salvageable. Noah Igbenogany. Come on. What's understood don't need to be explained. Three draft picks in one draft. Two of which was top 20 picks. One was a top 5 pick. and you missed on all three. I don't. Do we even have to say anything else, bro? Like, do we have to go into the other bad contracts, the bad drafts? I mean, we can even go back to this draft. Like, listen, I think Chad Robinson may be good one day, but God, oh my God, bro. Graham Barton, right there. Carson Powers Johnson, right there. Could have helped tremendously right now. But you chose to go with the future edge rusher. I'm just saying, man, at some point, we as Dolphin fans have to realize this dude has to go, man. And I don't know what could be done for him to go at this point. But what? So let me transition to another question, man, because I think this is important for us to differentiate. If you had to choose who you believe is the bigger issue right now, who is it? Who you think it is? Is it Mike McDaniel or Chris Greer?
I'll have to go with Chris Greer, man. For the fact that the biggest reason why I say that is because the draft. You know, you brought up Tua and everything, but man, I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but Herbert was there, you know. And even if we don't want to talk about the quarterback situation, because for the most part, no matter how I feel about Tua, he's played well enough, you know. So let's just call that what it was. Herbert is the better quarterback, but we found something we could work with. The other two draft picks were terrible. And Austin Jackson and Noah Igbenogany, you know. Um when you go back and look at Noah Igbenogany's draft recap, they don't even understand how he was a first round talent. They called him a kick return specialist. That is not first round deserving. Especially when you have a guy like Xavier McKinney who is tearing it up since he's joined the league. Yeah, he had a few injury mishaps, but he has been playing very well in his league. Especially when you have guys like Grant Delpit who was sitting there waiting, who's a young gun, who's very exceptional over there in Cleveland, who I feel like doesn't even fit their scheme. He fit more of our scheme. A safety that could come in, fit in the box, who plays well over the middle, not so much over the top. But you draft a corner who was unproven at Auburn, who's literally was only good at returning kicks. Then when he comes to Miami, he does not return anything. It made no sense. You know, Austin Jackson didn't pan out until last year. You have 3 first-round picks that'll decide the entirety of the 20s, the 2020s for your franchise, and you missed on 2 out of the 3. I really say 3 out of the 3, but you know, like I just said, 2 you could work with. So 2 out of the 3 you missed on. It's crazy to me, man. You
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
And it was like I said though, man. I mean, that draft alone is more than enough to get him fired. That
should be.
alone is enough to get him fired. I don't understand how in the world he is able to keep a job when he missed on all 3 picks in one round. In the first round, he missed on all of them. I get Tua is good enough, but the fact is Tua is going to be moved on from soon. So that's a miss. It's a miss. Because if he's not playing for at least 5 more years with you, if he can't play out his second contract, that's a miss. It's a miss. It's a miss because he literally is he good enough when he hits the field? Yes. I'm not saying Tua's a bad player. He's not. But if he can't play, it is irrelevant. And you can't keep going year in and year out, holding your breath, hoping he doesn't get hurt. He's only been healthy 1 year in his entire football career. I've said this on here before multiple times. Every year he's played football, outside of last season, he's been hurt. This is who he is. Yes, they took a chance. It did not work. The problem is you missed on every other first round pick. You had a chance to get Justin Jefferson. You had a chance to get Xavier McKinney. You had a chance to get Jonathan Taylor. You had a chance to get Penei Sewell. You had a chance to get Jamar Chase. You had a chance to get Xavier McKinney. You had a chance to get a plethora of talent, and you just, for whatever reason, don't ever get any of them. And even like I just said, this past draft, look what Graham Barton is doing for the Bucs right now. He's completely changed the interior of that offensive line. Chad Robinson is a pass rush specialist who hasn't gotten a sack yet. What are we talking about? You drafted a guy to be a specialist so far, doesn't exceed right now in that role, and you could have drafted a guy who's in a much bigger need situation and position, and you just let's go get the young gun. Let's see what he can pan out to be. I don't understand, man. It baffles me. I just don't get it. I just don't. We got some comments, man. Breezo, man, keep grinding, G. You can't please everybody. Yeah, that's facts, bro. Trust me, I know. And like I said earlier, man, I know a lot of people not gonna like what I say or things, my opinions and stuff like that. I really don't care. I don't. I get a lot of heat on TikTok for saying the things I said about McDaniel too, because I remember last year I went live on TikTok and people called me whatever they wanted to on that live, man. I had like 2,000 people in the live. I think you seen it, Larry. It was like 2,000 people in the live, and I asked the question basically. I just asked, is it time for the Dolphins to make a choice in McDaniel? Basically asking if this season went left, which it did last season, should he be fired? And I told you, there's a legitimate case to be made for him to be fired because I get it. It was his second season, but at the end of the day, you're not going to sit here and tell me it's acceptable or it's a acceptable offense to lose out your division when you led the division that entirety of that year. On top of that, you haven't won a playoff game. You didn't win the division, and you don't even look competitive against the better teams. You don't even look competitive. You look outmatched whenever you step up in weight class. If you're not playing the Carolina Panthers, the New York Giants, if you're not playing the worst teams, you look completely outmatched, bro. And you can't tell me some of that don't fall on coaching. The lack of discipline, the penalties, players lining up wrong every game, the holding calls, the discipline, bro. Offsides. Like it's a reflection of the coach. There's a reason why when Brian Flores was here, that we were one of the least penalized teams in the league. I'm not saying I won't Flo back because I didn't think Flo was a good head coach either. I think, like I said yesterday, I think some guys are just better as coordinators, and he's one of them. I don't think he is a good head coach. But the point is, when he was here, the Technics no talent wall, he strove to make sure his guys didn't beat themselves, and they didn't. They was one of the least penalized teams in the league. Now they're one of the most penalized teams in the league. I mean, does that not sound like a reflection of coaching? But let's get to the next comments. Brizo said something else. It definitely looks like terrible considering – it definitely looks terrible, my bad. It definitely looks terrible considering what Flo is doing in Minnesota. that was a massive mistake if the Vikings go further than Miami. Man, I'm not gonna go as far as to say it's a massive mistake because, like I said, I don't think Flo is a good head coach, man. I think Flo is a better coordinator. I think some guys are just meant to be coordinators. Everyone can't lead a locker room. Everyone can't be the head coach who has to oversee 50 plus men, and keep emotions down and keep personalities in check as best as they can. Everyone can't do that, and I don't think Flores is one of those people. And I kind of had a feeling about him from the instance he had with Kenny Stills when he literally basically trolled the man in practice with playing music to get under his skin. Like, I'm sorry, bro. That's more childish than you challenging him to be his best. That's just petty as hell to do as a grown man. So I think some guys are just better as coordinators. I think Flores is a prime example of that. I will say this though.
I think Flores would have been a lot more content if he would have got his quarterback that he wanted. He kind of crashed out on Miami once they had drafted Tua, and you could see the decline.
Man, listen, like I said before, bro, I don't know how much I buy that he wanted Justin Herbert stock because that story came out after the season pretty much went to shit. I think it was more so people trying to save face because it was one story that came out saying he wanted Justin Herbert, and there was another story that came out saying uh Chris Greer and Stephen Ross and Flo already discussed in the offseason that year that they was going to draft Tua, how they was going to approach the next 3-5 years or something like that. And so I mean, whether he wanted Herbert or not is irrelevant. The thing is, at this point, we are who we are now. We got what we got, and the fact is, McDaniel, to me, not good enough. It's just not. The culture not good enough. The execution not good enough. The preparation ain't good enough. The disciplinary actions and the discipline against your own players ain't good enough. It's something has to change, and it has to start with the head of the snake, and that's Chris Greer, man. You listen. The way this season is going is looking like they're going to have to do another rebuild, and I don't. Again, I take no pleasure in saying this shit, but that's the way it's trending. And it's trending that way because, like you said earlier, my boy, we are getting older. We don't have time to sit around and wait for people to figure it out. No, it's either you figure it out or you move on. And if you have to move on, you got a clean house. Chris Greer can't be here. McDaniel can't be here. Tua can't be here, at least not as the starter. Maybe you'll be forced to keep him for another year, or unless someone trades for him and they take some money off your books. And I don't know who would do that, but that's what I said. More than likely, Tua will be here another year. But at that point, man, I mean, you got to clean house at that point. And I think what's the unfortunate part is when you clean house, that means a lot of the talent you have is going to hit the door. And I think the number one indicator, the number one person who's up for that, and I know you don't want to hear this, but Javon Holland might be the odd man looking out. And I've said this on multiple occasions about multiple players who end up leaving this team. I said this about Mike Gesicki. I said it about Christian Wilkins. I said it about Xavier Howard at one point. Rashad Jones may be the next one up, though. I think he's the odd man out because he's up for a contract. He's not old, but at the same time, a new coaching regime, a new GM, they may come in and just be like, hey, scrub it all away, trade it all away, let it walk, whatever. We good. They may keep a few pieces here and there, but I think a lot of key players, if it was to go that route, I think a lot of key players are going to be moved on from.
All right, so let me ask you a question then.
Okay.
If we were, let's say for shits and giggles, we blow up the whole squad, we got to bring in a new head coach. Who is your pick?
I told you, Mike Verbal. Mike Verbal.
Mm.
I listen. The reason why I say Mike Verbal is because one, I think Mike Verbal didn't get a fair shot in Tennessee. I truly believe that. I think they gave him run of the mill, middle of the pack talent outside of Derrick Henry, and he had absolutely no choice but to ride out with Derrick Henry. Yeah, they had Ryan Tannehill, who played good down the stretch for them the season that I believe they went to the AFC Championship game. Yeah, yeah, they had him playing pretty well. I believe they still had AJ Brown at the time. Even though he was battling injuries. Um, I think they still have my boy. What's my boy name? Who they drafted? Corey Davis. They still had Corey Davis, who wasn't who didn't live up to the draft stock, but he was solid. He wasn't
He wasn't,
terrible.
yeah, he wasn't terrible, but he was a top five pick.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was okay. I mean, yeah, he was a bust in hindsight, but he was okay at the time. So they had something, but it wasn't fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go out and you get Mike Vrabel, that's a guy who's going to command his presence. He's not going to take BS from his team. Meaning he's not these 11 penalty games you see won't happen under Mike Vrabel. When you seen him in Tennessee, they were not one of the most penalized teams in the league. They were disciplined, they were competitive every game, and they were well coached. He would bring in a different culture and a different feel. The only thing about Mike Vrabel that might be a hesitancy for the Dolphins is the culture change he would bring. Because we have a lot of players on our team that are alpha personalities, and I think that'd be kind of conflicting. But someone has to come in and get these dudes in line. If not, this team will never change. It will never change, never. And the biggest indicator now, this is a player who is a good player in Devon A. Chain. But the biggest indicator I seen Sunday to me that these dudes are really just out there playing and they're not really playing for like any kind of urgency or passion almost. This dude, Devon A. Chain, I'm pretty sure you've seen this. In the 2 minute drill, when it was like 40, 50 seconds on the clock left, trying to get down the field, his helmet comes off. He literally walks to his helmet and walks back to where he's supposed to be lined up, wasting time. Like, where is the urgency? Why are we walking in a 2 minute drill set? Like
Mm-hmm.
it just to me, bro, and I get it. A lot of people may say I'm reaching, but to me, that's a reflection of coaching, bro. Like, why is your players on the field playing with no urgency, bro? They're playing with no urgency. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the sideline laughing. They're getting their ass whooped. What's funny? Like, I'm confused. It's, I don't know, man. You go ahead, bro. You got anything you want to add?
Nah.
So who would you like to see then if you had to choose?
Head coach. Shit, man. Bring in the seasoned vet, man. You talking about discipline. Why not go get Belichick?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
why not?
Belichick is a little
A
outdated, man.
new, a new, a new, a new change of scenery for the guy. He hasn't coached in a while. He took his little break. You just said about discipline. That those Patriots teams for all our lives were historically one of the least penalized teams on the football field. And when you look at you say he's outdated, but New England hasn't had a legitimate offense with him in the whole post Brady era. Mac Jones he wasn't even a decent quarterback. They didn't have good weapons. They didn't even have an okay run game until Ramondre Stevenson just came and showed that he's one of those guys that could be a good running back in this league. So you come and plug him in into Miami Dolphins style of style of play with the team that we have, and he could come in and set things straight with these players and get the defensive side of the ball a lot more competitive. And who's to say that Bill Belichick can't do nothing with this Miami Dolphins team? I know he's a little bit on the older side, but he did say he wanted to come back to coaching. So I don't typically see why not.
I mean, I get it, but the only way that I would be even remotely considering Bill coming in is if he understands he's not going to be the coach and the GM. Because listen, Bill is a good coach. The problem is he's trying to dictate all football operations too, and he just cannot draft to save his life. I can't. We can't be dealing with another dude who can't draft. I'm good off that. We need to go get a GM that actually knows how to scout and find talent and actually have some of that young talent contribute on a more consistent basis. We need a GM like with the Eagles, Niners, the Rams, like GMs that they got, like the Browns. Like we need general managers like that. These dudes find talent in the draft every year that contributes the first season every year. That's what we need. Because we have zero young talent outside of like three players: A Chain, Harlan, and who else? Who else we want to name?
See,
That,
I ain't
that
saying nothing.
I said that's it. I mean, that's two players. That's two players, bro. Like we need young talent. We ain't got no young talent. Out of the 53 man's roster, we named two people. That's pathetic. We need young talent. I mean, it's terrible, man. Like I don't even know what to say. It's terrible. Like it's absolutely
Definitely,
putrid.
definitely.
So I don't know, man. I just think it's time, man. I think it's time that for sure Chris Greer goes. I think it's that time. Man. I generally do not see how he would last another season, bro. I don't get how he could. I truly don't. The only way he could is if he's threatening Stephen Ross, telling him if he's fired, he's going to court with Brian Flores against him. That's the only way. I don't get how in the hell else he's keeping his job because he's not good at it. That's not the reason why he kept his job. I just don't understand, man. But we're gonna close out this show and we're gonna close it out with another hot take. So my boy, I did one last week. So we get to yours. So you got any hot takes you want to share? Like whether it don't have to be about the Dolphins, it can be about anything. Anything.
It could be about anything.
Yeah, like NFL related.
Jaden Daniels is looking like the number one overall pick
Well, hold on.
over.
So you think he is gonna be better than Caleb?
I was looking, man, from the playmaking, the swagger, the throws, the accuracy, and the leadership that he's already taken on this Commanders team, who everyone wrote off. Let's throw that out there. Everyone did not have the Commanders at least winning 2 games after 3 weeks. I know it's early. It's early to say, but we know this hot take. Jaden
Yeah.
Daniels is looking like the number one overall pick. It looked like he should
Yeah.
have been the number one overall pick. Let me say that. Because when you look from a talent perspective, the Commanders ain't got shit on the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, you're right about that. You definitely right about that.
And when you look at what Caleb has to work with, even though the O line is iffy, let's not act like Washington O line isn't iffy. You know, so
Mm,
we can't we can't we can't go and use that as an argument of Caleb got to do this and he's still doing it. Nah, man. Caleb has had every single opportunity so far in his league, and he has not produced with the Chicago Bears, but um a very young and very not so good Commanders roster is beating the Cincinnati Bengals Even though they beat the Giants by only field goals, Jaden Daniels has been playing out of his mind as of recently, and it's looking like he was the better option for the number one pick over Caleb Williams. And just to add on to that hot take, we got to stop adding hype into drafting NFL caliber players, man. We have to actually take the time to actually scout, look at what these people are doing on the field and the production. If you go back and look at Caleb Williams' years in USC, in his year at USC, Caleb Williams is the type to break the pocket and improvise. Even though it is good to be an improvising style quarterback in the NFL, sometimes you have to stand in the pocket and read what the defense is giving you. I seen Jaden Daniels look Trey Hendrickson in his eyes and throw a moonshot over to Terry McLaurin over double coverage, bracketed double coverage, bro. And it was a pearl on the money.
Yeah.
I saw Caleb Williams. I've seen Caleb Williams do the same improvising scheme that he did at USC and throw an interception to a Houston defender, man. I don't know.
I mean, if we going on what we seeing after 3 weeks, if we're being honest, it ain't even close.
Yeah.
I mean, Jaden Daniels, he absolutely lit the Bengals the fuck up the other night. And Caleb ain't doing none of that yet. He hasn't been playing stellar competition. I mean, I get it, the Titans are solid, but you didn't play well against the Titans. Y'all won that game solely because of the defensive effort.
And special teams, and they didn't earn it.
Exactly. And then you looked horrible against Houston. I guess you looked somewhat better against the Colts, but again, the Colts not looking like the team that we thought they could be. So, I mean, they got the Rams this week. So we're gonna see, man. But yeah, Jaden Daniels, man, so far, yeah, he look good. He look good, and I like Jaden Daniels. So I didn't have a problem when I heard the Commanders was going to take him. I understood actually. I'm like, him or Drake May. Me personally, I'm taking Jaden Daniels. So that's what it's looking like. And let me add on to that too, man, because I want to say this. I hope. I truly hope everyone who doubted Justin Fields, I truly, truly hope that they are watching this and they are eating their words right now. Like I truly hope that. And I say that because I told everyone Justin Fields is the least of the Chicago Bears problems. The coaching is terrible. The ownership, dreadful. The GM, dreadful. The offensive line, horrendous. And what do? You trade away the guy who helps you improve on a 3-game win differential from the year before. They won 3 more games than they did the previous year when he was there. And all you gave him was DJ Moore. Not knocking DJ Moore. He's a great player. But if all you added was a receiver and everything else was still bad, and you win 3 more games, how are we blaming the quarterback? How is the quarterback our biggest problem? Now look at him, 3-0 in Pittsburgh. That's all I'm saying, man. A lot of people wanted to tell me Justin Fields can't play. That's not the hell I'm seeing. That's not what I'm seeing. But that'll be it for the show, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in to the show once again. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe button on YouTube. We are everywhere. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. Last Word Productions, man. Just look up the name and I promise you I'm there. Anything you want to say before we go, Larry?
Dance for the win.
Man. Get that video this week. Hey, not get that video.
There's a lot to a little bit. All right, man.